What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 591 of the Smark Out Moments Smack Talk podcast Hot Tags of the Week. This is a crazy week. We have already hit you with 3 pay-per-view point episodes talking about our predictions for WrestleMania, for NXT Stand and Deliver, and for ROH Supercard of Honor. So go back and check them out. But I, Tony Mango, am bringing you here a quick round of the hot tags just to sort of round things out a little bit before we get into what's going to be another whole set of pay-per-view point episodes, because tomorrow we've got that ROH Supercard of Honor show, which at this point seems like there's a chance it might end around 10. Then it might be a post-show combined with a live watch-along of the Hall of Fame. I still don't quite know, because that's one of those things that they just don't want to announce ahead of time. And of course, we've got all the follow-up stuff from NXT Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2. So I wanted to make sure that I at least got something out here for the hot tags, but this is a super busy week, and it is currently about 20 after 1 in the morning when I am recording this. So forgive me, it's going to be a quicker one. Not that 1 in the morning is, much for me. I'm usually up till 7:30 in the morning, the way that everything goes. You guys know by now how horrible my sleep schedule is and how much that's going to catch up to me in the future. But nevertheless, I do still want to talk about a couple little things very quickly here. One of them being a huge reminder that right now we are on the finals of the Smark Madness tournament. Now, I had planned on having a thing here that would have just very quickly been, hey, who's going to win between this family and that family? But in the quest to determine what is the best wrestling family dynasty of all time, we have a triple threat in the main event here. The finals have come down to Anoa'i, which beat Flair, and a tie between the Hart family and the Rhodes family. That makes for an interesting triple threat. We are getting, of course, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania this year, but we're throwing Bret Hart in the middle of this too, and obviously all the others that go along with it too. You talk about The Rock over the Anoa'i, you talk about Dustin Rhodes when it comes to the Rhodes family, you talk about Owen Hart and Natty and all the other people that are in the Hart family and all. So that's actually the thumbnail for this one, is to go along with that. We are, trying to determine the finale of this, and now that we are on the night of, I guess, like the official start of WrestleMania weekend, depends on how you look at Friday, you've got the option of being able to pick who you think should be that best wrestling family dynasty of all time. Maybe the stuff that happens over the course of WrestleMania might sway you one way or another. Maybe if Cody wins, you might be a little bit leaning more towards that direction. Maybe if Roman retains, that seals the deal for you. I don't know if there's anything that the Hart family could really do that would really push you in that direction. Natty is in a match at WrestleMania, so I don't know if she and Shotzi win the seemingly meaningless WrestleMania showcase match, then I don't know, maybe that's what ends up giving her a little boost for you. The point being is that final vote is up there for you to be able to vote on now, so go ahead and vote while you can. I'm going to be addressing the winner on the next episode of the Hot Tags when we get into that next week. Next Friday, most likely. We'll probably do a normal Friday afternoon recording like we normally would do, except for, in this case, of course, we got all this other stuff going on. So I wanted to make sure that we got ourselves a little bit of a break. I wanted to give Callum and Rob a chance to not do another podcast with me. I know they're probably getting sick of me a little bit. But I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that is up. And I mean, I've said it from before. I thought that this was going to be Anoa'i and Hart. I didn't think that Rhodes would necessarily get to the finals, but now that that is the case, it's pretty interesting. So I added a couple little extra poll options there just to make sure that if there is another tie, that we've got a tiebreaker, and to give the Hart and Rhodes thing another vote in case we want to determine who's the third place, who gets the bronze medal essentially. So that is something to be aware of, but also we've got the Dusty Rhodes contest that's happening right now. The Road to WrestleMania contest is what I should refer to it more so as, sponsored by Fun.com, where you can win a Dusty Rhodes Funko Pop. We have 3 of them that are going to be given away next week at some point. I haven't quite figured out. I think it's like next Thursday is when I'm shutting that poll off or something, but you've still got plenty of opportunities to get a lot of different entry points, because you can get any number of them through any number of different means. Just being subscribed to this channel is one of them. You can also retweet things. You can pick up some merchandise. You could be on the Patreon. All these things give you entry points. And speaking of the Patreon, by the way, if you want to help support us going forward, you want to make sure I can go to bed at an earlier time than 7:30 every day, then the Patreon is the best possible means to do that. The equivalent also is on the YouTube channel membership, which you can see if you just click on the join button that's next to subscribe, which, by the way, if you are not subscribed, then make sure that you click on that button and you also ring that little notification alert and click on all notifications. That way you get the email alerts when it ends up being live on the channel, like our post shows that are coming up, the Hall of Fame watch along, or whatever it ends up being constituted. And of course, the pay-per-view post shows after the other stuff on Saturday and Sunday. And if you don't have that much that you want to not necessarily get tied into the recurring subscription fees when it comes to that, even though the $1 a month thing, I'm sure, $12 a year, that's one cup of coffee at Starbucks or something. Though you could also hit up the little thanks button, or if you are joining us live for the chats, then you can hit up the super chat button. That's also an option. There's also a Patreon for Fanboys Anonymous if you want to show support there. There's TeePublic and Redbubble if you want to pick up merchandise for Fanboys, for A Mango Tees, and for Smark Out Moment. The more support that you guys show us, then the more that we can do, the better content that we can bring you, the more that we can keep things going on here, the more motivated we're all going to be, the more that I can actually toss a little bit of that money towards Robin Callum. You guys actually support this more than what the actual ads do on here. So if you can imagine that, then keep all that in mind, everybody, especially when it comes to something like WrestleMania week, because this is nuts and we're going to be bringing you lots and lots of content. So, if you think we are worth $1 a month, please consider helping sponsor us. And I want to make sure everybody else knows about some of the other things that we're plugging, but we'll come back around to that. You get a couple of things out of the way here for the hot tags. I don't have much, to be perfectly honest, but one of the other ones that I did have was adjustments to the ROH Supercard of Honor lineup. And I was expecting that by this point, we would have the 0 hour stuff figured out. But here we are, 1:20 something in the morning, and I still don't know any more information about that. Instead, I only know the thing they had announced prior to even the ROH episode airing, which was that Daniel Garcia challenged Hiroshi Tanahashi to a match. And that is at least currently being classified part of the main card, which means we are now at 8 matches on the main card, and no clue what matches or how many are going to be on that 0 hour. It does seem more than likely that that 0 hour is going to start at 6 p.m. Eastern, and that the 7 p.m. start time is the main card. So I'm still kind of personally hoping that this means those 8 matches can go from 7 to 10 and that we don't have to have this bleed over into that 11 range. But who knows? I don't know. We'll see. So all that factors into what ends up happening tomorrow night, because if I'm watching SmackDown at the same time as ROH, and then I'm watching ROH at the same time as the Hall of Fame, it's going to be a little too difficult to do too many things at the same time and actually bring you guys a proper live show. I might have to wait until afterward. I don't know. We'll address it when it comes around to it. Nevertheless, there's going to be a page, or a thread, I should say, up on the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/the Megamaniacs, where you guys can chat it up during all these different pay-per-views, and of course the Hall of Fame as well. We might as well just keep the same thread. But as far as Daniel Garcia and Hiroshi Tanahashi goes, in my mind, this just seems like one of those matches that, again, is just, hey, look at that. Good wrestler against good wrestler. No story. It's going to be good. But the hook there is just, do you want to watch these two wrestle? In the grand scheme, yeah. But as I've mentioned a million times before, on a busy week like this in particular, you're going to need to make sure that you hook me very early on. If they end up being like a 15-20 minute match where it takes 8 minutes for them to get started and then it becomes a great match, you might hear that I've lost my attention span a little bit. So I expect Tanahashi to win, to set up something that can kind of transition a little bit more towards Forbidden Door. We're still months away from that, so he doesn't have to by any means, but he is coming in here as the bigger star of the two, and Garcia can easily take a loss to Tanahashi and not look weak. So I would personally give Tanahashi the win. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. does kind of make me feel a little bit more like maybe Claudio does retain that belt. Maybe Tanahashi ends up challenging that down the line. I don't know. Could just be one of those one-off things where they just said, hey, you want to pop up and do this? And he said, sure, why not? What the hell? Maybe not. I don't know. But 0 hour stuff, I can't give an update to like I was anticipating. So no predictions ahead of time when it comes to that. Sorry, everybody. I can only do what I can do. I will talk about another thing related to a pay-per-view coming up, though. That is as far as the whole having a pay-per-view on at the same time as another one. WWE decided to announce that NXT Battleground is going to be happening at exactly the same time as AEW Double or Nothing. I don't have it in me to do those things. Too old for the shit, as Murtaugh would say. I don't see why they need to do this all the time. They need to start looking ahead of the schedule and just not trying to play combatant with each other, because this is just going to lead to less people watching Double or Nothing and less people watching NXT Battleground. Your hardcore audience that watches NXT is more likely to watch Double or Nothing because that is a bigger show, and that is, let's be honest, NXT appeals to a certain audience that's a little bit different from the main roster from WWE. There is more of a chance that they are into the pure wrestling side. I mean, I don't know at this point. NXT 2.0 kind of killed a lot of that, but you're not getting the casuals, I should say. And the more dedicated pro wrestling fans are going to lean more towards the AEW thing because it's a bigger show and they'll have more established stars on there. They'll have more important matches. This is going to be bad for NXT Battleground. I don't anticipate a really good showing for it. Now, the card itself could be great. I don't know. We're still a while away from them announcing anything when it comes to that, but I don't think that this is a smart decision whatsoever. I think that maybe they should have just waited and done it the next week or the week prior. Maybe they'll learn their lesson. I don't know. As far as doing NXT Battleground, though, this would normally go to In Your House. And I'm very curious why they're going with Battleground instead. They haven't announced Spring Break-In. Not my most personal favorite brand name that they've used, so I would be okay with them completely undoing that and just having either In Your House is like the special episode of NXT, or maybe they just use another one of the names, reappropriate something else. I don't know. Spring Break-In's not great. NXT Battleground's not great either, to be honest. I've never really been a fan of the Battleground name because it should always be a Battleground, and I like the name used more for the video game purposes rather than to be a pay-per-view. It's a little too generic in my mind. You got Payback, you got Backlash, whatever. I really want them to bring back No Mercy. I thought that was a better name. I, of course, said before, I really want them to bring back Breaking Point. I think that that's better too. Battleground's bland. So I think it's a thumbs down as far as the branding. I think it's a thumbs down as far as the time frame of just being on the same time as AEW Double or Nothing. I'm just thumbs down on it. But maybe the card will be great. I don't know. We'll see when we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Last hot tag, actually, that I have to talk about because I don't have anything as far as the TV stuff. This week, we talked about the Monday Night Raw stuff, and then NXT was pre-taped, so we already addressed all that with the predictions for NXT Stand and Deliver. And then when you get into the Dynamite stuff, the only thing that was really interesting to me was, holy crap, Don Callis actually got injured. That's not good. And hopefully he has a speedy recovery with what seemed to be that his skull was even showing. There was that deep of a gash. Like, ooh, God, that's awful. But nothing happened on Dynamite that really made me be like, I got to talk about this. I got to talk about that. It was a good show in some parts. It was a bad show in some other parts. It was an okay show in some other parts. I mean, it just sort of did the same thing that it normally does here. So they don't have a pay-per-view coming up that they needed to build towards. They didn't change anything as far as anything other than that Daniel Garcia match. That's it. But I do have one more hot tag here as far as AEW is concerned, which is AEW All Access. That premiered immediately following Dynamite, and I did what I said I was going to do. I said, look, I'm going to at least give it one shot. The premiere episode, the pilot, the debut, whatever you want to call it. It can either show me that it's exactly the same as everything else, or it can show me that it's something different. And they showed me that they're a little bit different in some ways. A lot of ways, of course, they follow the same format of every other reality show. So that is still something that is not the biggest hook for me personally, but at the same time, they didn't completely fall into the trap of setting up some stupid situations and environments just for the people to be like, oh, this wacky thing that we're getting into this week. They did do a better job of just being like, look, this is what is being recorded backstage. It's not the most riveting TV, but then again, that's why they do those stupid things where they, set people up for, hey, how about the two of you go horseback riding this week, and one of you is afraid of horses or something stupid. So I would rather them do something a little bit on the more boring side as far as just sensational TV, but something that's genuine, rather than for them to do something that's completely manufactured and I'm still not interested. Or I guess you put it that way, even less interested, because I'm just not going to watch that stuff. So I'm actually going to give it a second chance. I'm going to check out the AEW All Access episode 2. I'll potentially check out episode 3 if episode 2 is bad, or if episode 2, of course, is great, then of course I'll check out episode 3. But I liked how simple it was. So honestly, if I were in your shoes and you're sitting there on a fence about it, check it out. Worst case scenario, you watch an hour worth of a show that you weren't the biggest fan of. But I would give it at least enough of a thumbs up to check it out again, and a slight recommendation on my part. To be perfectly honest, that's it for the hot tags that I've got down. And I naturally have other things that I've been working on and things we're going to get into more in the future, like trying to set up some plans for what we do post all this WrestleMania stuff. So maybe we get into next week something along the lines of fantasy booking WrestleMania 40. Maybe we do something where I've been kind of wanting to play around with ChatGPT a little bit and maybe do something like, hey, you pitch me something for a main event and see what happens if it has like a topic that would be interesting or something. I don't know. Maybe that'll be a dark cast or something. I don't know. But we do still plan on talking about the Smark Madness tournament. Another thing that we want to talk about is wrestlers in the wrong era, people that would have succeeded better at a different time frame. If we get some new titles, which is a rumor that we may get the WWE /Undisputed /Universal, et cetera, championship, might be getting a new design. Maybe the new tag team title designs. The ROH not the ROH tag team titles. Well, yeah, the ROH tag team titles too. Seems we might be getting all new ROH titles, but at least we are getting a handful of them. Tag titles have not been popped up yet, as far as I can see. I did see the one that Wheeler Yuta has, the Pure Championship, and I did see Claudio's. To be perfectly honest, the Claudio's is not all that great, but it's still a lot better than the Pure one. I absolutely do not like the Pure Championship. It is too old school for me. I've never liked old school championships. I don't personally like belts that have I don't know what the word is. I always say like a floral design, but it's, a lot of lines in it and a lot of, circular kind of patterns and such. For instance, the big gold belt. So many people love the big gold belt. I think that there are a lot of good things about it, but I also think that the more that you get into that stamped out pattern of something that could be translated to like a tablecloth kind of thing, the less that I'm into it. And I also I don't like it when championships have people wrestling on them. And that's going to seem like heresy to a lot of people too, especially the fans that are into like NWA and all. I think that it's kind of hokey and old school in a bad way and lame and a little bit weird to just have like clip art of people grappling on a championship belt. But then again, to each their own. I like the WWE championship that we have going on right now. It's my second favorite design of any championship that they've ever had for the most part. I mean, I love the Winged Eagle, and then I like that one. It's those two. They're the two that I like more than any. And then, of course, if you throw the Intercontinental Championship in there, the old school one of that, then that's, it's either number 3 or number 2. But those are my thoughts on the Pure titles. I mean, I'm hoping that the tag team titles look better. I hope that the women's title looks better. The 6-man tag, hope that looks better. The TV title, etc. Maybe they do have some better options. I don't know, but personally, I'm not digging it. So that was another one of those hot tags. I want to just toss that out there, but keep in mind that there are so many other things that are happening, whether it's on Smark Out Moment or elsewhere. For instance, the Blueprint Project over on fanboysanonymous.com, where you can check out my attempt to make the gold standard version of all the things that you could see up on your screen right now if you're listening on YouTube. Or if you're not, then, it's Star Wars and Power Rangers and Spider-Man and X-Men and Ninja Turtles and James Bond and Superman and Thor and X-Men or I might have said X-Men already. Daredevil even, and Captain America, and it just goes on and on and on and on. But the main project that I've been working on outside of the Power Rangers one, which I'll talk more about Power Rangers in the next coming weeks or so, since we got that Netflix show coming out, so I need to put out at least a little bit of a teaser of what my absolute Power Rangers project is all about. But I've been working a lot on The Batman, A Nighttime Story, 100 records from the Wayne Foundation archives. You have no idea how much effort I've been putting into this stuff. I mean, right now, up on my screen, there are about 32 tabs of just lists of the GCPD members. I finally think that I've gotten done mapping out all of the mobsters and all. Just the mobsters, not even like the gangsters, just the mafia types. It's kind of crazy how much, I mean, it's not really crazy. It's been around for 80 something years, but that is all happening over on fanboysanonymous.com. So go to fanboysanon.com, check out the Facebook and Twitter, subscribe to that YouTube channel, hit up the Patreon for that, because of course, the more support that you give to fanboys, the more support that it actually goes by proxy to Smark Out Moment. Think of it this way. I've said this phrase before, but it does apply pretty well. If you water any part of the root of a tree, you're still watering the tree. All the nutrients are still going up. So if you want to water a mango tree, do so with fanboys, do so with Smark Out Moment, do so in double way, donate twice in that. And, hey, whether it's a Pick Your Poison or it's Darkcast or the bonus features over on fanboys, the more support that you give anything to a mango tree, the more that I can present to you some great stuff here. And of course, go to amangotree.com or anthonymango.com. You will see a whole set of links of everything from my socials to the links for Smark Out Moment and fanboys. Go to like facebook.com/TonyMango, twitter.com/TonyMango. Kind of seems like I'm going to lose my Twitter verification tomorrow. I think it's April 1st, which is kind of a joke. But hey, look at that. I was verified for, I don't know, what was it, like a year before they decided to screw this all over. I'm not paying for it. There's no way in hell they're going to get money from me on that. But hey, it is what it is. So if you do want to show your support, again, all the different ways that I mentioned before, Redbubble, TeePublic, the join button, the Patreon, all that good stuff. But also a non-monetary way of doing it is if you enjoy this podcast or any of the other ones, hit the like button. It might seem like it's nothing, but to be perfectly honest, that can make a big, big difference in people actually being able to see this. YouTube does not like to promote things that don't have a built-in audience, which is kind of, it's that sort of, you have to have money to spend money to make money to have money kind of thing. You have to somehow already be popular for YouTube to be like, oh, well, you know what? Here, let's give you the option of becoming more popular. So if you want to see us grow, the best way to do it outside of the money side of things is to let YouTube know that you like us, so that they can go, hey, if you and you and you and you like it, then maybe these 5 people might, and then it'll all snowball. So stay tuned to everything else we are going to be presenting you. We, of course, are going to do that Hall of Fame discussion in whatever fashion it is, and the ROH Supercard of Honor pay-per-view point post-show. Again, maybe it's a post-show that's happening around 11. Maybe it is a live thing that's coinciding with the Hall of Fame. Maybe it's something even after that, if they end up deciding that, hey, these 8 matches need to have another 5 matches, and it's going to go on forever. I don't know. I will say this, though. There is a chance that the Supercard of Honor show ends up just being ridiculously long, and that I don't necessarily feel like getting it, and that I don't feel like watching it, and that I put my priority onto the Hall of Fame. And if that ends up happening, then I will speed run it, or I will have Rob and Callum fill you in on some of those things. In some way, we're going to address it. So stay tuned to all that stuff. We got the NXT Stand and Deliver stuff, which I guarantee you will be watched live, and then an immediate post-show following after that. And then, of course, the big guns of the whole weekend, WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2, which we now know the card layout for, not necessarily in match order, but we know what's on Night 1, we know what's on Night 2. I would not have booked some of those on the same nights, to be perfectly honest. I think I would have flip-flopped a couple of them. I think maybe I would have put Brock Lesnar and Amos on night 1, maybe Rey Mysterio and Dominic on night 2. I don't know. We'll see how they plan on playing that all out. But also, of course, with SmackDown tomorrow night, we got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So I will be addressing that in kind of whatever that post show would be for that. Anyway, those are the hot tags. Thank you for tuning in once again, everybody. I will see you tomorrow night and throughout the weekend many, many more times. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and I am being counted out.